Have you had one of those days where you've been out on the range and you realize you're just not making the shots you want to make? Or you keep leaving a little bit of blood behind on the range because of slide bite? Or maybe you've realized that your gun always moves or torques when you try to actually hit that target. Today, we're going to talk about a proper grip. My name is Jeremy Burrs and I'm the Director of Range Training and Law Enforcement here at D5 Ranges Marengo. Today we're going to go over a good grip for your firearm, or what we like to call the master grip. So one of the most common things I see either downstairs on the range or I see in my classes is improper grip. And usually we can tell when somebody has an improper grip for a multitude of good reasons. One, shot placement seems to be very erratic or always kind of torquing or pulling to one side over the other. Two, well, you get slide bite and you wind up leaving DNA behind out on the range, and that is not fun.
'Tis but a scratch.
And three, we wind up seeing the gun continuously torque side to side. So today we're going to talk about really how to get this grip locked solid onto this firearm. All right, so the first step in maintaining a good grip on our firearm is using our dominant hand and getting it as high up on this firearm or this beaver tail as possible. The higher up we are, the less likely we're to have this muzzle flip. If I were to tell you to hold this firearm down at the bottom of this gun and pull the trigger, what's going to happen? Bang, right? It's going to give all of this gun the leverage to create this muzzle rise. So to combat that, we get up as high on this beaver tail or on the back strap of this pistol as possible. So we're going to get that webbing of our hands between our thumb and our pointer finger as high up as possible on that beaver tail. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to wrap our 3 fingers around this firearm, and our trigger finger, of course, is extended out where the frame and slide meet. We do want to take notice that all 3 of these fingers are kind of tight together and that this middle finger is pressing up against the trigger guard. Now let's complete the other hand, or the non-dominant hand. Now what we're going to do from here is we're going to slide that non-dominant hand onto our firearm and wrap our 4 fingers around this gun. Again, what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that all 4 of those fingers are nice and tight together and that pointer finger is touching the bottom of that trigger guard. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to stack our thumbs one on top of each other just like this. We want to make sure that we don't cross our thumbs because, again, neutrality is key. And if we cross our thumbs, when we go to shoot, we wind up torquing this gun. So we want to stack our thumbs one on top of each other. Again, remember, our goal here is to completely wrap this firearm's grip up with palms and fingers by making as most contact with this firearm as possible. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to show you some examples of bad grips and some of the things those bad grips will actually do to your shooting or to your hand as far as that goes. The first one we're going to demonstrate is actually a slide bite. This is when people put 2 thumbs back behind this gun, and this reciprocating slide coming back extraordinarily fast leaves a little DNA behind. We're gonna bring Tim out here so that he can hold this gun so that I can cycle this slide backwards and you can actually see what potentially could happen from a slide bite. All right, so now that you guys will notice the way that Tim is gripping this firearm, he's got his thumbs crossed behind this firearm. Now, as he pulls that trigger and this slide comes back and reciprocates, it is going to literally take a chunk out of his hand. This is so much more common than you would like to think. I've seen a lot of carnage, both in classes and on the range, with people getting slide bite. You wind up bleeding profusely from here. In fact, you can actually see that the slide did make some marks on his skin, even though we were just cycling this by hand. Now imagine that thing flying under the recoil of that gun being shot. The next one that we're going to show you is what I like to call the low down, meaning you're way too low on this firearm. Again, notice that you have all of this space here, and I'm going to grab down here. All right, again, this is going to give this firearm a ton of leverage to give me that muzzle flip or muzzle rise we're going to see. Ready? All right, you'll notice that I get a ton of muzzle rise out of this thing when I go to shoot it, and that's because I've given it all the leverage in the world to do so. The next one we're going to do is the thumbs crossed. This one may actually be a little bit harder to see what's going wrong while I'm shooting, but what you may wind up seeing is as I go to squeeze that trigger, I wind up torquing this gun just a little bit. Because when my thumbs are crossed, one, I'm making less contact patch with the grip, And 2, I will actually start to drive or torque this gun over to the left. Ready? All right, the next one we're going to talk about is the non-dominant hand pointer finger up on the front of this trigger guard. And again, this is a very common one that I see all the time. Now, what we usually wind up seeing from this is as people push out, they have this tendency to start to drop that firearm here. And most people don't notice, but you do actually have less contact patch with the grip of this firearm also while you're doing it. All right, the next one that we're gonna go over is just the teacup, right? Where you kind of take your hands, cup the bottom of it just like this, and then go to shoot. Now, what you're doing, again, is we have 0 contact patch on the non-dominant hand side of the gun, and what we're doing is we're giving our gun kind of this nice little swivel point down here, right? Keeping away some of that control that we need. All right, the next one that we're gonna show you that I actually see more often than I thought is the wrist grab, right? Holding that wrist for control of that wrist. But again, what we're doing is not actually reinforcing our wrist, we're creating all this lack of contact patch here, and we're gonna see a lot more muzzle rise and a lot of movement or torquing out of that gun. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and apply a good master grip to this firearm, and you should see a lot more control over this firearm. Maybe not as much just on the singular shot, but you'll really start to see a control change or a control difference in this as we start to shoot maybe shot multiples where we have a succession of shots being fired. So hopefully showing you guys some of the incorrect grips will make you kind of think, maybe I do one of those. And you can start to correct that by putting on a good positive master grip. I know that you're gonna feel the difference in control and in muzzle rise and in all that sort of stuff when you start to apply a good positive grip. Now, one of the things you can do is do some dry fire technique with this to really establish that master grip and have that become muscle memory as you pick up your firearm. So all you simply gotta do is set your firearm down, pick it back up, put a good master grip on. Put it back down, pick it back up, put a good master grip on. Put it back down, pick it back up, put a good master grip on, and do that over and over and over and over and over again until every time you pick up your firearm, you're applying a good master grip with that. My name is Jeremy Burrs. Thank you for watching our video. I really hope you learned something and that you go home and actually practice this stuff that we taught you today. Don't forget to pull that trigger on the like, subscribe, and notification bell. Don't forget to check us out on the web at www.d5rangesmarengo.com and check us out on Instagram and Facebook. And as always, I'll see you next time.